Oh, Dougie, delighted to be chatting to you. Myself with Steve Evans there next to me.
Hi, Dougie. Pleased to meet you.
I'm delighted to meet you too.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. This got happened quite quick, didn't it?
It did actually, yeah.
You asked me, and I said yes.
No, I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
There's been a debate. Sorry, I need to say something now. There's been a debate going on Twitter today about I keep getting invited to places.
Yeah.
Like events, sporting events, and book events, and bloody film events. I never get invited anywhere.
What? Yeah.
No, never get invited to nothing.
That surprises me.
I know.
Well, I'm glad we invited you then for this chat.
Well, that's why I said yes so quick. It's just nice to speak to another human being.
Brilliant.
It's bleeding computer for most days. So.
Oh dear, yeah.
Like buses all come along at once, a bit like your movie company. Redbus Movies, yeah.
Yeah, well, if I leave this in now for the chat from the edit, you're going to get bombarded with invites for the three people who watch it.
No, it's like it's nice to say no, but it's nice to have the option.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
How's life in Hertfordshire? Are you in Stevenage around that area?
No, I'm in Hemel Hempstead.
Okay.
Hemel.
Yeah.
Hemel. Lovely Hemel.
We was there not so long ago, a few weeks ago actually. But yeah.
What are you doing here?
Instead of staying in Watford, the hotel was full, so I ended up staying in Hemel Hempstead. I'd just gone down to London, and I try and stay outside of London. And
always a good, sensible move. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was nothing available in Watford, so we ended up staying in Hemel Hempstead instead. It's only a few minutes up the road. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. No, life's good. Life's good at the moment. Busy.
Good.
Mad. But, yeah.
Nice.
Watford are crap. Football club's crap. But apart from that.
Which football club is it?
I tell you what, I could talk for a whole hour about what's going on in Watford at the moment. Jesus, freaking wept.
Is that your club, Watford? Is it?
Yes, I've fallen out of love with them at the moment. So there's a lot going on. But let's skirt over that. I don't want to get digging into that.
Fair enough.
Nightmare.
Okay. Well, before talking about your brilliant career as a writer, books and screenplays, can you take us back to your career in the RAF? What motivated you to sign up? Was it like economic reasons? You had no other work, or did you just fancy that life?
I was. I'd finished my. My dad's an entertainer, or was an entertainer, I'll say.
Yeah.
And I was one of 6 kids. My dad had moved out of London after the war in Tamworth, which was a new town then. I'd done quite well at school. I was due to start my A-levels, as we used to have them, to study to be an architect or an engineering draftsman. And on a whim, I rode my little push maxi over to Watford, CIO, and enlisted in the Air Force. Took the form home to my dad, said, "Can you sign this?" He said, "What is it?" I said, "I want to join the Air Force." So I said, "Great," signed the form, and that was it. I think he was just glad to get rid of one of us, to be fair. And literally 6 months later, on New Year's Eve, 1975, I left home and headed for Lincolnshire in basic training. I was a week off 17, still 16.
Similar times. Sorry, Dougie. Yeah, similar time span to me. I joined the army in September 1975. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
So I did 17 years, but sorry, go on. I interrupted you.
No. I mean, the army never occurred and never really interested me. We had no military connections in my family at all, other than the Second World War. I just fancied being an engineer. I didn't even really particularly want to work on aircraft, just learn to be an engineer. And I signed up initially for 6 years, ended up doing 18. Went all over. No, well, not all over. I did loads of good tours. I mean, 40 years ago to this day, as I'm sitting here, I was on Ascension Island with the Vulcans as part of the campaign to retake the Falklands. We was like literally 6 days off victory, but I mean, I'm not one to claim any major involvement in that. I was in the Air Force. I wasn't certainly not one of the lads who was down doing the actual fighting. They're the legends. So and that was it. And I plodded on until 1994 when I left. And that was it.
Very similar time span to me, to be honest. Actually, the RAF wanted to sign me up as an airframe engineer, and the army poached me back. Yeah, the army poached me back. and went up to the RAF careers office and got all my records and said, "You're joining the army instead." So that's the only reason I
that's a
ended up
bit
in the
out of
army
order.
rather than the RAF. But there you go. Yeah.
Oh no, all the stuff the mockery about RAF standing hotels, absolutely true. Yeah, I've done that. I mean, I did 2.5 years on Harriers in Germany.
Yeah.
And we were always living in tents in the forest. But our tents in the forest were very different from your tents in the forest. I mean, ours was like bleeding. Well, do you remember Tenko? The Japanese thing. There was verandas and bloody coloured lights, bars, fridges, the lot. Catering was, 3-course meals, every day. We used to get army lads come on Remy to relay the strips for the aircraft. And they'd just be walking around open mouthed. This bloody arrangement we had, it's like city on in tents with aircraft popping up and down out the forest. Just could not get their heads around how we did it at all.
Yeah,
So,
I was
it's
reaming.
great.
I was reaming.
Oh, was you?
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, I've seen them do amazing things. I've never seen anybody work so hard as reaming lads on the Harrier Force. Incredible. So, I'm not that. Sorry.
Yeah. So did you? You obviously did Falklands. Did you do the Gulf as well? Active service there?
No, I was due to go to the Gulf, but my wife. It's a really long story, but to cut it short, my wife. We got stuck on the M6 in the snow in the November, and we was there for 24 hours. My wife got evacuated with the kids, 3 little kids, and in the night she got up and to get the little and a drink, turned left instead of right, where we normally would, and fell down the stairs and broke both her wrists and her back. So I ended up looking after her. It was a right saga. I ended up looking after her. There was no way I could travel out, which I wasn't exactly unhappy about, to be fair. Yeah. But I mean, we would. I was working in a maintenance unit then, so we were just flat out getting stuff out to the Gulf. I mean, well, I have my thoughts on that, but no, I missed it. Thankfully, I missed being out there. But again, I was in the Air Force, so I didn't want to be too close to any danger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Friday nights in the naffy was as dangerous as it got for us.
That's about right.
Yeah, bloody right. Tough time for us was a 3-star hotel, not a 4-star hotel. Bloody hell, nightmare. But I loved it. We all joke. I mean, everyone jokes about it, but we loved it. I absolutely loved it.
So, do you think that that military, that service background, did that have any impact on your writing style or the motivation for writing? Because you've got all this experience.
I was incredibly lazy when I was in the military, so most of my work involved avoiding work. And I got into when I somehow got promoted to sergeant. I used to tell the lads who worked for me, look, you do all the work, and I'll give you decent numbers at the end of the year because you're assessed in the military with numbers. And I would skive for England. I used to do a lot of motor racing, so that was really my day job, was building racing cars and getting ready for the weekend when I'll be out competing. So I was. I don't know. I mean, it does, as you'll know. Sorry, my glasses are bonky again. It's unbelievable. It teaches you a kind of discipline. Which you can jump in and out. I can jump in and out of, and I do frequently. So when I've got nothing by way of a deadline, I can amble through life and do pretty much jack shit, and just tinker and mess about. If I've got a deadline, it's literally 18 hours a day until it's finished. And I like that. I work much better with a deadline, which I've got at the moment.
Yeah. So you've clearly got that motivation to do it if you want to, but when you get the chance to be lazy, you'll take the opportunity.
Well, I mean, I think you have to. I think in life you have to. You've got to enjoy it. I was never driven to write. I never even wanted to be a writer. It's just what I've ended up doing, and I only ended up doing it really because it was a way of sitting down all day and getting to watch a lot of football. And I wasn't going to be presenting on Sky Sports. Let's face it. So the only other way to do it was sit down and write about it, and then write about what you know. And so that's really how we got into it. It was an accident, really. How everywhere we go came about purely because we were watching what was going on in the build-up to Euro '96. Everyone was talking about this, World War III was going to break out. It's all complete crap. And you had the people from, John Moore University and Leicester University spouting all this absolute nonsense about football fans. And we realized there's an opportunity here to do something. And we were working, Eddie and I, my youngest brother, we were working as extras on film and TV at that time. And so we talked to lads all day. That's all you do. You're sitting around. So you talk to lads from all over the country about football and whatever. All of our stories and experiences were roughly similar. So we thought, well, there's a chance to do something here. And we started writing stuff down. And as the end of '95 was approaching, we knew we'd have to get a move on. If we were going to get it published, it had to be fast. And so I walked into WH Smith's, picked up a book, saw we published it, wrote to the publisher. They wrote back, asked to see some stuff, sent them some, they asked to see some more. And then after the third time, I said, look, you either want this or you don't. If you don't, we've got to go to someone else. And they said, yeah, we'll have it.
Wow.
And that was sort of headline. They're one of the big six. And we thought naively, because we didn't know any writers or anyone involved in publishing, we thought that's how it happened for everyone.
Yeah.
It was only later on that we realized this was far from the truth.
Yeah.
And from that point on, Everywhere We Go came out, and it was massive. It was a massive success at the time. We weren't the first hooligan book. Steaming In had been out before that. Among the Thugs had come out. There'd been others, but for some reason it struck a chord with people. So we just caned it. We just caned it with another 3 books. We did England, My England, Derby Days, and then Capital Punishment. And then Eddie went off to do other stuff, and I just carried on writing and got into fiction with the crew, and then got asked to do a movie, which was Green Street.
Wow,
so
brilliant.
Mad.
Your books, you've sold over 1.5 million books, haven't you?
I think it's closer to 2 now.
Wow. That's incredible, isn't it?
That's serious, isn't it?
Not bad, is it?
That's just
and a multi-award winning Hollywood-backed movie as well. Wow, that's incredible.
It is.
Bad. No, but no one ever invites me anywhere.
Dougie,
I don't know anything about them.
We talk to a lot of writers, and they're 99% of them, the aspiration is to get their books onto the big screen, onto the television or the big screen. And you've done that. That's simply.
I did it with. Green Street was never a book. And it was going to be a book, but because of contractual issues and personality issues, it never happened. But Top Dog, I adapted myself for the screen, and that was bloody hard work. It's very difficult because it was my book, and I knew the story inside out.
Too close to it.
And I tried to cram everything in the book into the movie, and it was impossible. I thought I'd done it, and then when I sat down with Martin Kemp, who directed it, and he just redlined pretty much every page for 3 hours, which was a thrilling experience, sitting there watching someone destroy your work.
I bet.
And at the end of it, he said, "This is brilliant, you know that, don't you?" And I said, "Well, you just ripped everything apart." And he said, "No, you. There's 3 threads in the book. In a movie, you can only tell one thread, so you need to pick which one you want to do." And so we went with what we had, and Leo was great, cast were great, it turned out okay.
Brilliant. So, how did you manage the financial side of it, backing for your movie, for that particular movie, and or any movie? Do you use your own finances, or did you look for out? I know it sounds a bit.
No one. With Green Street, the money comes from Hollywood, and with Top Dog and that, it came from other investors. I would never. I'd never put my own money into a movie. Saying that, we're not far off it at the moment. That financing a movie is the toughest thing. Since we formed Redbus Movies, that's the lesson I've learned. I don't get involved in it. I've got people who do it for me, or with me, sorry, I should say. And I leave it up to them. And we've had real problems with one. We're stumbling with one at the moment, which no one can understand. The other one, we've I've got one film we were supposed to film in March, but we haven't because we haven't got the finance together yet. And there's other issues as well with cast availability and location availability. And we've got one film due to film in Australia in October, which the money's there. So I've just got to finish writing it, and we're off.
Is that the limit of your involvement then? You're just doing the writing, you're not involved in like the project side of things, putting things in place? And
no, I don't want to be, because you know, I'm 63 now. I don't want to get involved in that sort of crap.
Yeah.
It's there are people there. I'm quite happy to pay people to do it. I'm a firm believer in, you know, I'd rather get 50% of something than 100% of nothing. So, and if you incentivize people, if you bring people in, it doesn't matter what they're doing, whether it's raising finance, co-producing, whatever. Yeah. If you incentivize them by giving them, you know, higher than they would get elsewhere, on condition that they actually deliver, because it's all about delivering, you get good teams together, and we've got a good team together. We've been very fortunate in, you know, who we've brought on board, and they do what I need them to do. I've got no interest in, you know, going scrabbling around for money or finance or grants or, you know, any of that. Doesn't interest me at all. I just write some, and my bit is to do with the writing. I'm not even that fussed about going to set, to be honest. I've done all that. It's quite boring. Just get them written and take the money when it comes. And hopefully get invited to my own premiere.
You get people writing to you on spec to Redbus Movies saying, I've written this book, you know, it'd be great for one of your films to be made. Do you get that?
Yeah, I mean, what I tend to do is, because Redbus Movies was formed largely to develop my projects, because I'd written a lot of scripts since I did We Still Kill the Old Way with Gary Lawrence, who I've rewritten one of our movies with. It was called The Gentle Selectors, and I've got something else. We'd written a lot of scripts, and because I'm not a hustler in that world, I'm not overly familiar with the film world. We'd punt them out, and if nothing happened to them, I'd just get bored and just go on and do something else. So when we did the short version of this story is, a guy approached me because he'd had an idea for something, and I put him off for basically, I think it was about 2 years, and he kept harassing me. And then one day he piqued my interest because it was about the Falklands. He wanted to do something in the Falklands. And so I went and met him, and the story was phenomenal. It was just a phenomenal story. But he's not a writer, he's not anything, it was just an idea. So we had literally 2 paragraphs of setup. And so I wrote a draft script and a long outline of that. And we've got that away. We're just about to complete the deal for that now. That'll be about 10 episodes, 10-hour-long episodes of TV. It'll be an amazing thing. And then once we've done that and started pitching it out, he said, well, what else do you want to do? And I had another script, which had almost gone, about a soldier who loses his legs. And it's about how he rebuilds his life after that, because for every, you know, Paralympian you see running around in their wheelchair, you've got 20 others who are sitting in a council estate in Sheffield drinking their lives away. And so and it's about that. It's about that side of the side we don't talk about and don't see necessarily. And he wasn't really interested in that because it was very depressing. And then we came up with The Gentle Sex, which is about 4 old women. You know, it's a comedy about 4 old ladies. And so that's, as I say, that's gone. We've got another film, the one that's due to film in October. I cannot say a single word about. I'm sworn secrecy because of who is involved with it at the moment. But it's going to shock a few people. It's about something I don't know much. I didn't know much about. I had to learn about. But the person I'm working with is an expert in that field, so you'll get the gist when it's all announced. But
exciting.
We've been on that for a year. I mean, really working hard on that for over a year now. So, which is why people think I'm sitting at home doing nothing when I'm actually sitting here from like 4 o'clock in the morning and sitting up late at night having Zoom calls with people, you know, in all points of the globe. But it's been great fun. It's been a really good but very stressful journey this one's been. Can't wait to go out. So but yeah, it's been good. It's been good fun.
So just give us an idea, how big's Redbus Movies as a company? Have you got a lot of people involved?
Bloody tiny. It's only me and my missus. I mean, Redbus Movies is really it's an umbrella organization. What we do is we form a because of the tax laws and the way films are accounted. Every film is treated as a separate entity. So we form a company for that entity, and the accounts are run through that, and the taxes are paid on that. Redbus Movies is really a way that I can run my projects and get paid into a single company. So we're a development organization. To jump back to your question about do people offer Redbus books and stuff. I get it all the time, and I always say I'm not interested because I didn't write it, and that's basically because, as I say, I'm 63. I don't want to be doing this in 10 years' time. I don't want to be developing other projects for them, for other people. I will do, and I've got some lined up that I would really want to do, but I can only do so much. I'm planning to do 3 a year for a couple of years. What I do get a lot of is people who write to me and say that they've had an idea for a film, and do I want it? And I'll split the profits with them 50-50, which is possibly the most unappealing offer you can ever get. I get probably one of those a week. And you'd be amazed when I say to people no, how offended they get. They think that they've no concept of what it, most of them, and fair play, they don't really know the business. They've no concept of what it takes to take an idea through from basically one sentence to screen. It's a crushing undertaking. And you've got to believe in it. And I don't, most of the people who write to me, I don't really believe in what they've got. I've got some red lines that I won't touch anyway. I don't want to do another hooligan movie. I think they've all been done. I don't do anything involving drugs. I don't like doing anything involving guns unless it's comedy. As long as it interests me and it entertains people, because it's an entertainment business at the end of the day, then I'm interested in it. I won't work with arseholes. So at all, I won't have any in the company. Everybody in the company who I work with in the various projects, we have a strict no arsehole policy. So if someone starts to, because most of the people I work with are older and have been around a long time. So we've met and worked with arseholes, and it doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter if you're a cameraman or a cast member. If you're an arsehole, you're not coming on set, because I don't want to be around you. I don't want to work with you. And nor does anybody else. And so the number of people I've only sacked one person, but they were an arsehole. But the number of people I've just said no to, and because you're an arsehole. And there's a lot. I've got a very extensive shit list. So anyone who pops up who's on that shit list is is an immediate red line. I've had it with a very well-known individual who they're trying to push at me for cast as a cast member, and I said no because they have a reputation for being an arsehole. And it kept on and on and on and on. And eventually, the person who kept going on and on and on and on, I sacked because they were being an arsehole. It's my company. I say no. That's it.
Absolutely.
Discussion. One of the big things I want to do. There's two big things I want to do with Redbus Movies. I want to get people who haven't been seen on screen back on screen, particularly older women. For most British actresses, sadly, their career is over at 45, 50. And there's all this talent there doing regional theatre and pantomime, and you occasionally see some pop up on the West End. And I want to get them working again, because they're fabulous actors, and there's so much talent being lost. And I also want to employ as many veterans as I can. I bring on set. I want a minimum of 25% veteran on set. And thankfully, there's a lot of vets working in the industry anyway, but I want to work some more, bring some more in. I'm doing something with BFBS next week.
Oh yeah.
They're running a producers course for resettlement, how to become a film producer and how to work on set, and you know, trying to get, because all this technical expertise a lot of lads develop in the military can transfer very easily to the film industry. Not just the normal armory and special effects stuff, project management, finances, you know, security. There's 1,000 things. So we want to get as many people in, because if you ask, you know, if you ask a vet to do something on a set, you know it's going to get done. There'll be no questions about that's not my job, or, you know, I've been here too long. It's very rare they'll skive. It's like, I need it done. I need it done now. Can you do it? Yes. Great. Then as far as I'm concerned, it's done. I know it's going to be done. So that's why I like to work with them. And plus the fact when you're sitting around, you know, chewing the shit, it's just fun. It's just funny. Yeah. You know, vets, like sandbag time is golden. And so, yeah, they're the two things that drive me on. I'm really keen to do that. It's exciting. We filmed a one-dayer for the Gentle Sex. We've got Joan Collins starring in it, and Cassidy Little's in it, the ex-former Royal Marine. Yeah. And of, I think there was 30 people on set, something like that. 80% of them were vets. Yeah. So we're on course to do that.
Oh, brilliant.
It was good fun. It's good fun. Yeah. I'd encourage writing's really difficult. I mean, I've been incredibly fortunate. I know that. And you'd be amazed. And I know I'm fortunate, and I tell everyone I'm fortunate. I'd never be where I am. But I know my limits. I'm never going to win a Booker Prize. Yeah. I'm probably never going to win an Oscar or a BAFTA. I've got no, but I make movies that, and write books that people can like get, you know what I mean? That entertain people, that make people think. That, you know, in all my books, I always try, and I know who I'm writing it for, because I'm writing it for me, and I'm writing for my mates, and I need to sit down with them and they say, yeah, that was all right. If they say it was all right, then I know I've done a good job. If they say it's crap, they're going to tell me, and I, you know, with Green Street, I even to this day get told it's crap and it's all my fault, and it's
award-winning film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that much. But it's I mean, you know, it is what it is. I just do what I do, and it's and if I can help anybody else do it, I mean, when Hooli Lit exploded, it became known as Hooli Lit not on our backs, but we did. You know, it's fair to say everywhere we go and all those did kickstart something. I think that what happened there, in the sense of, you had the last count, I don't know how many it was, but the last time I counted, there was about 72 books came out in that genre. Some of them were amazing, like the guys like Cass Pennant and stuff like that, fantastic books. And Andy Nichols, who you probably know, who wrote Scally. Amazing books, fantastic books, great writers, did some amazing things. Some are rubbish, you know, we've all read them. Some people say my books are rubbish, that's fine. But there's a lot of people sold a lot of books very quickly. Most of them were first-time authors. Most of them had never written, never wanted to write. And they made an awful lot of money very quickly. But mostly they brought a lot of people back into reading. I used to get lots of letters from lads and even their wives who said, he's never read a book before. I've never seen him reading a book. He's reading The Crew. And he's got Top Dog on the sideboard to read next. And when you get letters like that, that's an amazing thing to be told, because it means you've actually achieved something. What disappoints me is that the publishing world has never really acknowledged that. We're still, like I always say, that guys like me, who working class guys who write for working class people, we're not the bottom rung of the literary ladder. We're the rubber stops underneath. And because they just don't want to talk to us. There's no interest in talking to people like me, which is fine. I don't particularly want to talk to people like them anyway, but you would kind of like some acknowledgement for the guys who actually did it. Yeah. You know, the guys who actually got off their ass, sat down and wrote a book and got it published. Yeah. There's some incredible people did some incredible things. And yeah, it was a great period for a time. Anyone who wants to write a book, okay, or write a screenplay, the most important thing is to write it. Don't worry about finding an agent. Don't worry about it getting published. Just get it written. Because if you approach an agent or you approach, a film company or whatever, the first thing they're going to want to see is the script or the manuscript. So if you've actually got to a point where they're interested in your premise or your synopsis or even your idea, if they're interested in it, you need to be able to give them something. If you can't, a book, even someone like me who writes fast, you're looking at 3 to 4 months for a decent manuscript.
Wow.
4 or 5 weeks for a decent script. By then they'll have forgotten you. And there will be someone else who's come along who they are interested in, just as interested in you, who has a manuscript or who has a script. And they give them. And it may not be as good as yours, but it's in their hand, so they can start working with it. So write the bloody thing first. Don't worry about anything else. And just write. I write in a particular way, okay? I write the endings first, always. Because everything in a book or a film is about the ending, okay? Because that's the bit everyone remembers. That's the bit when you walk out of a cinema and go, shit, that ending was amazing. You think of a film, do you remember the film Carrie?
Yeah.
Where the hands come out
I
of the...
shit myself. I stood up in the cinema.
Everybody shit themselves. Yeah. But everybody still remember the ending. And hardly anybody remembers much about the rest of the film. Yeah. So if you start with the ending first, but also once you've got your ending, everything else in the book or your film is about getting to that point. If you know where you're going to end up, it's a lot easier to start the journey. Yeah. And you can go meandering off wherever you like. You can have your characters do whatever you like, as long as you bring them back to the final point. Because if you start the book or the film without knowing how you're going to end up, how do you know what route you're going to take?
True. Yeah.
And then when you do have your ending, you've got to go back to the beginning and start again. Why do that? You've got to know your ending first. You've got to. And there's nothing more frustrating for me, apart from my wonky glasses, than seeing someone on Twitter or social media or wherever saying, I've got like 400 pages written, but I'm not sure how to end it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, like what? How do you not know how you're going to end it? As everything else is about taking you to a point, and the point is the ending. Start at the end first. Best tip. Second tip, if you can't take criticism, don't do it.
Yeah, you need a thick skin.
Because you are going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
At some point, you will get slaughtered.
Yeah.
And it's tough to take, but you've got to learn from it. Every time you've got to learn from it. Yeah. And you've got to take it on board. I mean, with a script in particular, you might as well write it in pencil because it's going to be rewritten and rewritten. I think I rewrote Top Dog in Told 17 times.
Oh, wow.
I mean, not page one rewrites, but there was most of it. I think in total, it got hit 17 times. Green Street was much, much more. Much more. You can be changing it up to the day of filming, even on the day of film. You can be having discussions about dialogue while it's set in the scene. The screenplay is a very fluid document, so you can afford to be precious about certain things, but not all of it. A book is different because it's your baby.
My sister,
it's just fairly obvious.
My sister, when she reads a book, she says she always reads the last chapter first to find out whether it's worth reading. That does my head in, I think, because I like, if I'm reading a good book, I'll slow down as I get near the end. I don't want to finish it.
No, I get what she's saying. I'll get what she's saying. I've been trying to read more thrillers lately because I tend, one thing I tend not to do is to read much while I'm writing something.
Oh, influence on you, the style.
Yeah, because I end up writing their bloody stuff. And I don't read anybody else's stuff if I'm certainly, I mean, going back to what you were saying before about people sending you stuff. I tend not to do that because I'm terrified that what I'm going to read is going to be better than what I'm writing. And it's very depressing when that happens. But the other thing, of course, is people send me stuff and I can't read it because there's always the risk that someone's going to accuse me of nicking it.
Yeah, true.
And so if you don't, if you just carte blanche say I'm not opening it, don't send me it. You're effectively covered, but it's a bloody minefield.
I can imagine.
It's an absolute minefield. So it's just best not to put yourself at risk. Because I mean, if it's the industry, then you know there's non-disclosure agreements and all that sort of stuff, which is fine. But if you've got, like your average bloke who's had an idea for a book, or has written a manuscript, or has written a script, and he just wants me to look over it for him, which normally I'm quite happy to do. He doesn't understand about NDAs, or stuff like that, and so it's just too risky. It's sad. It's really sad. It's like that, but unfortunately, we live in a litigious world.
True.
These days. And, sorry, carry on.
A couple of writers have said that there's more chance of getting a screenplay in the hands, getting the green light from a production company if there's a novel behind it, because the story and the characters are already out there. There's not that much likelihood of suing someone for pinching an idea.
That's not my experience. And I can only talk about my experience. I mean, I know I've been a pro writer now for 20 odd years, since 96. I don't know many writers. I still don't know many writers. I don't mix with writers. I don't go to all these writing do's. Doesn't ever get invited. Even and it went on the rare. I keep saying that.
I know.
Fucking glasses drive me nuts. And on the rare occasions I do, I kind of feel out of my depth. I don't particularly feel very clever. So I tend not to go. Because I mean, literary snobbery is the proper thing. And if you're a working class orc like me, you are you're out of place.
Do you think it's because of the genre that you've mainly written in? This like.
I don't. I mean, publishing these days, and this I'm going to say this, and I get into a lot of trouble because of this. Publishing these days is dominated by women. The commissioning editors are women. Most of the editors are women. You can see on Twitter. 95% of the people who've been promoted up as editor or as commissioning editor or whatever are women, and they all seem to be middle class or upper class 35-year-olds named Sarah who live in the London suburbs. The backgrounds tend to be very similar. So they've not really got any interest in taking on a book aimed at primarily at blokes about blokey things. They don't understand blokes. They don't understand what makes them tick in much the same way as we don't understand what makes women tick. I mean, I know that's a generalization, but I'm 63 and I've been around a long time, so I don't like it. And it's and the other thing as well is being 63, I'm twice their age, and they don't want to be sat opposite me at a desk, listening to me pontificate when they can be talking to 25-year-old Elizabeth from the suburbs, talking about how blokes are arseholes and stuff like that, because that's what they associate with. And so, and I get into trouble of saying that, but you walk into Sainsbury's or Tesco's and look at the books on sale, and most of them are the same.
Romantic thrillers.
And there's this argument that's been fostered around for a long time that blokes don't read books, but they don't read books because you're not providing them with any books. You're not giving them what they want. You've got 50% of the potential market is being underserved. And it goes back to what we were saying before about Hoolilit. All of a sudden, you had a load of blokes come along, give the blokes what they want, sold shitloads of books, brought a lot of people back into reading, and it all died a death. No one kind of really built on it. And I did have the opportunity to form an imprint, like not lad lit, but that's what it got characterized as, lad lit, and to form an imprint which put that out, and I didn't do it. By then I was more interested in writing film stuff, and I kind of regret that now. We could have done something really interesting with that. The toughest part for any writer is that moment when you send the book out to someone else, not your friends or family, because they'll always tell you it's great, to handing it to someone else. And it's exactly the same. I've been doing it a long time. It's exactly the same to me. It's terrifying. Because you need that validation. You need someone to come back to you and say, this is shit hot, or this is crap. This is not what you want. And you've goes with the job.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of the territory, and if you don't like it, don't do it. You know, it's simple.
Yeah. Dougie, can I ask you about the mechanics of your writing? Do you write in a notebook first, or do you go straight to the keyboard?
It depends on what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got piles of notebooks, piles of bits of paper. I tend to make lots and lots of notes on my phone.
Your phone?
Yeah, just like if an idea will jump into my head, I'll make a note on my phone.
Yeah.
And then once I've got enough in my head to think about, well, I need to start writing it down. Ending first, always the ending first.
Yeah.
Because then you can kind of work out what sort of characters do I need. You know, what sort of character are the people involved in the ending? Because everyone else is incidental.
Yeah.
You know, when you break down any movie, the characters in it are incidental, apart from the people who end up within the last half hour. So what type of character do I need? What their name is? The most important thing for me is I need a voice, a name, and a face. Yeah. Once I've got that, and that can be anybody. You know, anybody. It can be a mate. It can be a celeb. Once I've got that name and voice, and it can be completely different. You know, it can be Robbie Williams with a Cockney voice. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I just need that look. I need that voice. Yeah. And if I get stuck, the reason I do that, if I get stuck and it's Robbie Williams or James Corden or whoever, you know, I just go on YouTube and watch him for a bit. And it unlocks everything. If it's and I can listen to what they're going to say, and that unlocks stuff. If it's a mate, I just ring them up and have a chat with them, and it unlocks stuff. Like, right, I get to know their thinking. So what would he do? What would he say? How would he react? And it's and I generally have a file with pictures of all my characters.
Oh, yeah.
So I can just refer to it. And it's like with a movie, it's like a dream cast. So it can be absolutely anybody, but they fit my perception of what that character is.
Okay.
And it works for me. As an interesting example of that, when I wrote Top Dog, when I wrote The Crew, I knew that character inside out. Knew everything about him, the way he looked, the way he spoke, where he lived, where he worked. I mean, it's all in the book. Everything's in the book. Yeah. And then I did Top Dog with exactly the same character. Yeah. And then I've just done In the Know last year. Same character. And then when we did the movie and we cast Leo, he's completely different. He looks different, sounds different. Everything about him is completely different from the character I had in my head. Yeah. So it was a real difficult transition to get my head around the fact that a guy I'd been writing about since 2000 was not the guy who was in my head. And it took a long time to get to grips with it. And in fact, by the time I did In the Know, that character was Leo. Yeah. So in my head, he was Leo. Yeah, yeah. So if I got stuck, I just rang Leo up. I went out for a drink with Leo. So it's and it works. You know, I mean, people say, you know, do you base characters on people you know? Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, you do. But it can be anybody you know. You know, it can be bloody Morgan Freeman. Yeah. You know, with bloody Boris's voice. It doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah. It's your perception of it. But only once has a person recognized himself in one of my books. Yeah. And it was my mate Pete. I wrote a book called Billy's Log, which is a lad's version of Eddie Jones' Diary. Yeah. And I based it on my mate Pete. It's part on him and part on me, and it's as close to an autobiography as you're ever going to get.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at that now on Amazon, the cover of it. The guy he's looking up above and thinking his log.
Billy's Log. Yeah. Yeah. It's a comedy about a guy who's kind of about to hit 30 and realizes that his perception of women is not served him very well. and you know, going on the lash and watching football and all that sort of stuff. It's about how he grows up basically over 12 months time. Yeah. It's my favorite book still.
Oh, okay.
And Pete recognized it straight away as being about him. There's a lot about him in there.
Was it complimentary? Did he like it?
Yeah, but he loves it. I mean, to this day, he's still after royalties of it, and he's never going to get them. But yeah, he sort of spotted himself straight away, and I was really pleased about that because he's a fabulous bloke, you know. It's and he's gone on to write his own book now.
Oh, super.
So yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. But that's how my process of characters work.
Okay.
You know, but I mean, the important thing to understand for anyone who wants to write, there's no way to write. It's just ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And what you've got to do is find the way that works for you. And if that's sitting in Costa or Starbucks, you know, with headphones on, writing away, brilliant. If it's sitting in a darkened room with no noise, great. You know, I write with music, you know, in my head, generally very loud, because it's, and I create like a playlist for each project or a specific album. And I'll play that over and over and over and over again, like a form of hypnosis. Yeah. And like with Billy's Log, it was a Stereophonics first album. Oh, yeah. Just had it on repeat. Yeah. But after 3 months of the Stereophonics, you know, you go through a weird period of hating it and then loving it, and then not being able to work without it. Yeah. And
addicted
then
to it.
When you finish, but the beauty of it is if the phone rings, you can press pause, answer the phone, and then go back to it and click play, and you're straight back into into the process. That's how it works for me. Yeah. And it's the problem is when you've finished, if you hear anything off that album,
take them back.
You know, I can't listen to it again. I just can't listen to it because I almost go like that for a while.
Yeah.
And I can't listen to it anymore. The way I'm doing at the moment, the project, but it's got to fit the project, for example. So the one I'm doing at the moment, for some bizarre reason known only to myself, I'm playing sections of the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. Yeah. That really, like, I mean, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. Yeah. But that music kind of gets me in that zone. Yeah. For the project I'm working on at the moment. So it's yeah.
I was thinking of Elijah Wood. I mean, when you said that, you know, because he played the character in Green Street.
He's right behind you, but he's it's you know, as I say, find what works for you. Find a comfy chair. Yeah. I always say this when I say to people, find a comfy chair and love it like one of your children, because you're going to be spending more time with that than you will with your kids. You know.
Yeah. Well, it is a child in a way, isn't it? Your way, what you produce, your way. You know, you've created it. That's your baby.
Yeah, when we started, when Eddie and I did the first few books, we used to go and watch them get printed.
Oh yeah.
And the first time you like bawl it, we literally bawl on the point of bawling. It's such an emotional thing because you've got this pile of paper, and in them days it was like floppy disks.
Oh yeah.
You've got this pile of paper, and then all of a sudden you've got an actual book, and it's, you know, you can hold it in your hands. It's an astonishing feeling. And I went and watched the first few get printed, and then they moved the printers to Poland, so it wasn't really an option. Yeah. But it's it's an interesting world. It's an interesting career.
Yeah. I get a lot of people saying to me, I've written one book, but so I've got a book in my head. Nearly everyone says that. That's what exactly. You can't tap a desk with an idea. You know, you got to have a bit of paper. You know, get it out. Yeah.
It's everybody says it, you know, and it's, I've got a great idea for a film. Well, where is it? Yeah. Oh, it's in my head. Yeah. I'm good in there. I can't see it. You know, no one's going to put money into it if it's in your head. Yeah. Get it written. Yeah. You know, I mean, and I'm not being funny. If I can do it, anyone can do it. That's what I always said to the Hulu lads. You know, if I can do it, I used to get a lot of flack off lads, football lads, about books. And I said, listen, and then I get emails. Your books are shit. Your books are crap. And I said, well, write a better book. I'll help you write a better book. Yeah. I'll even introduce you to a publisher who might even publish it. Yeah. But just stop whining about it and do better. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So if I can pull it off, anyone can pull it off. I'm constantly winging it anyway. So
not too bad with 2 million sales behind you. Bit higher than winging it, I'd say. Yeah,
but it's well, okay. I'm not big on. I'm not good on taking compliments. Yeah. So sorry, what did you ask me? Did it change my life?
Yeah.
I thought it would. I mean, you have a book which is a reasonable success, and you think, well, it's big house, and, you know, new cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually work like that. I mean, the percentage of people who actually earn a decent living from writing is minuscule.
Yeah.
And we realised that fairly quickly. We did okay, but I mean, we did. That's why we carried on. We wanted to get to a point where we didn't really have to work again. Unfortunately, never really got to that point because we just spent loads of money really quick. But it's the thing that disappointed me, I think, that I expected was to be welcomed into the publishing, the world, the literati world, the publishing world.
Yeah.
And I learned pretty quickly that I was an oik and I was an outsider.
Yeah.
And that's part, that once you accept that, it's kind of okay, let's do it. I'm not the only one, and I'm certainly not complaining about it. I don't do bad.
Yeah.
But when you tell people you're a writer, they expect this kind of, it's one party to the next, and one books, book launch and movie opening.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen like that for me. Never happened like that for me. And I'm not. It doesn't happen like that for a lot of people. It's very much a face fits industry.
I find, well, I've read somewhere that for most new writers, even with traditional publishers, the average sales is something like 300 copies, unless you're a big name. That's it. And the advance that you get.
I mean, people would be amazed on the outside how few most big books sell. They throw lots of money at these books, and if it comes back to what one of the things I said before, a lot of these books you see launched, they're books that are punted out there that they think people will want to go and read because they've got so little understanding of the market, particularly in the male market.
Yeah.
In my experience, I can only ever talk about my experience, that they miss the mark. So they think everyone wants to read, a football autobiography. Well, no one really wants to read a football biography unless they're it's Gaza or someone major. Yeah. But they throw thousands of them and have big launch parties and all this sorts of crap, lots of publicity. Yeah. And no one really wants to buy them, especially not in hardback.
Yeah.
Because they're phenomenally expensive.
Yeah.
And so it's again, it comes back. I write books for me. I write books that I like to read, and because they're what I like to read. I think they're what other people seem to want to read as well, because I'm just a normal bloke. Yeah. So it comes down, it's all about the market. You can push a book as hard as you can all over the place. And and now we're seeing books of specific genres, being pushed out of people with the expectation that we have to read this book. No, we don't have to read it at all. No, I don't want to read it. I don't, because it's about a world that they're generally about worlds I have no interest in. I'd rather lie in, blokes generally read in one of three places. They read on the toilet, in bed, or on the way to or from work, or on holiday. So 4 places. Okay. So if the former, like work, toilet, bed, they're only going to read short blocks. So all my books are constructed in short blocks. The characters will, so they can read like for 15 minutes, there's a chapter down. Get off the toilet and go and watch TV or go to sleep or get where they're going. If they've got a longer, they'll read another block or another block or another block. And all of my books are constructed in that way because that's how blokes tend to read. Whereas women will sit there for hours devouring a book. So it can carry on with all this flowery prose. And I don't use flowery prose. It's he walked out of his door and there was mist flowing over the meadow and the
none of that David Copperfield crap.
Blinking through the fog. It's like he walks out of his house and goes to work.
Yeah.
Walks over his house, gets in his car, starts the car, drives off. That's it. Because I'm the way I read, I don't describe characters. I'll give a rough description, but I always construct a character in my head. I know what they look like. I believe most blokes do that. It's a thing blokes tend to do. So you know what that bloke looks like. You don't need me to tell you. And it's easier if you know him, because often, certainly in my subject, I like readers to associate with the characters and recognize characters in those books, or even recognize themselves. So they fit their mates into those characters or themselves into that character because they can associate with them. It adds to the entertainment, the entertainment value. If you can recognize yourself in a character, it's much more entertaining.
I know, I'm a big reader. I go through a couple of novels a week, but generally when I'm reading descriptive passages, I generally flick past and look for the dialogue and look for the action.
Shit. To
To
me, they're just fillers. I mean, my books, someone recently described in the know as what their review was, I'm paraphrasing, strap yourself in because this is a rocket ship of a read. And it was literally bang, 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 bang of things happening. It was a very fast-paced story because that's what I like to do. Because again, I knew where it was going. I knew the ending. I wanted to get as much in as possible to get to a point where that ending was, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. Because I don't want it to see it coming. I don't want the ending to be predictable. I want things in there which are holy shit moments. I'm writing a script at the moment, and one of the notes I had back is we need at least one what the fuck moment per episode. And I like notes like that because then it's okay, that gives me carte blanche to do whatever I like. And it's whether it's something being blown up, someone being killed or whatever. And it's I love stuff like that. I like creating stuff like that. But it's about the journey. It's all about the journey. One of the things I'm working on at the moment is a ghost story. Bizarre things, which is an idea I'm working on with someone else. And it's the first one I've ever done. And it's really exciting. I'm really excited by it because I can, if I'm lost for inspiration, I just go on YouTube and like watch these ghost things like Slap Tam and Nuke Stop 5. And everything I need is there. And it's like, what the F is going on there? But it gives you, it's inspirational for stuff. So what you've got to do is write it in a way that's as exciting.
But the way you described it, it's visual, isn't it, for you? You look at the visuals.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things I had when I wrote The Crew, which came out in 2000, which was originally was going to be a TV episode of Linda LaPlante drama.
Prime suspect writer.
She approached me. They wanted to do something about hooliganism. She had an outline for a story she wanted to do. I went in and said it was crap. It wouldn't work. Explained why it wouldn't work. And she said, well, come up with something better. And when Linda LaPlante says things like that to you, you come up with something better. And the story was great. It was The Crew, in essence. ITV wouldn't do it for various reasons. So she said, this is a book, write the book. And so I wrote the novel, and someone reviewed it as this reads like a film script. And to me, that was the best thing they could have said. My novels are all dialogue heavy. Because I like to leave, as I said before, I like to leave the reader with a bit of work to do.
As you say as well, you can cut and paste that into your screenplay, can't you? Just put the interior bits.
I wouldn't do such a thing, honestly, Gov. No, it's pretty much exactly what I did with Top Dog. It's here because I had all the dialogue there. I don't, as I said, I don't do flowery stuff. I don't do much descriptive stuff. You can do that. I need you to be involved in the process. Again, involve the reader in the process. The most important person always in publishing, and it's another thing publishing tend to forget, and it's exactly the same in the movie business. The most important person is the reader, or the person who switches it on Sky or goes to the cinema to see it. Because if you don't have them, you haven't got anything.
The audience is everything.
So entertain them. Give them something that they're going to think about. Give them something exciting. give them something that is worth the £7.99 they're going to pay. And then they'll come back and they'll want the next one, and they'll want the next one, and they'll want the next one.
Yeah.
If you give them some boring crap, you're going to have a very short career.
True.
Very short.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an entertainment business. You're an entertainer. If you're a writer, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
Entertain.
Yeah.
That's your job. That's the fundamental role of your job. Entertain. You know, if you're writing fiction or thrillers or comedy or whatever, there's nothing worse than an unfunny comedy.
Yeah. Don't go back. Yeah. Dougie, that is a brilliant end note, I think. Our time's caught up. But listen, it's been absolutely brilliant. I could chat with you, listen to you for hours. I really appreciate your time.
I'm honoured.